All right, cool. So thank you for joining me. Carrie, I wanted to first, this is the format. I like to keep it super simple. First, you're gonna introduce yourself. Let us know who we're talking to, who are we
Okay.
hearing from, and then I'm gonna get into a Q&A session where we're gonna go from some simple questions, maybe to some final thought-provoking questions. But I don't wanna go past 10 to 15 minutes. We'll wrap it up around 13 minutes and be respectful of everybody's time. So Carrie, who are you? And how do you serve the community?
Well, I thank you for asking, and thanks for having me on this Zoom call. I'm Carrie Phillips. I'm the owner of RateWise Mortgage. I've been a mortgage lender for 20 years, and I'm helping the community by getting purchase loans done and trying to get his finance loans done. It's uh, our our goal. So that's how I help serve the community in my profession.
Awesome, awesome. So let's get straight into it. There's a lot of people. We live in a city where it's all about social gatherings. I mean, the casinos, entertainment, Cirque du Soleil, pool parties, night. Like, I think with everything getting shut down, some people are saying 50% of Vegas isn't working, 60% of Vegas isn't working. A lot of people are laid off. A lot of people are furloughed. I want to touch on some topics regarding um, people maybe thinking about refinancing in order to get some of the equity because maybe they didn't have a good savings. Maybe they didn't have a good 3 month, 6 month for a rainy day. So maybe they're like, should I refi, get some equity and kind of use that as a safe nest right now? What are your thoughts around that as far as a best practice? Do you recommend that? I'll let you take it
Yeah.
from there.
Well, when a borrower is wondering if they should refinance, I say, okay, what are your goals? Trying to get cash out? Are you trying to lower your payment? Are you trying to return? I ask what the score is, I ask what their current loan amount is and what their market value is so that we see if we have a viable loan. The question I now have to ask with all of that going on with layoffs and with people going on furlough, I have to ask what's your job profession? Do you still have a job? Are you laid off, but you're not going to for another 30 days? Because that does impact on whether or not a mortgage lender can do a loan for you. We're not going to be able to fund your loan until you're back to work. But a lot of clients, they have jobs that they're able to work remotely. They have jobs are essential. People in the casino industry, we're not going to be able to do their mortgage right now until they get back to work. Now, many of them have said it's a 30-day layoff period. So what we could do, start the mortgage application, get all their conditions in, and then kind of wait for 30 days, get them back to work, and then we close a few weeks later. Um, but started the transaction and started going into the refinance process, and then close once they're back to work. But
Great.
I do think it's a good idea to get cash out when you have got a social want your income. Rates are, depending on 24 things at interest rate, but rates are in the threes for most people,
In
and
general, right?
a lot of people are in the fours or the fives percents, and we're saving people $200 a month. For those that just kind of do a rate and term, sometimes we're doing cash out for people and they're able to pay off debt and carry payment to what they have now, or a less of a payment even with getting cash out.
So that leads me into two questions. You mentioned some people are in the threes, fours, some people are in the fives. So when people ask me, hey, Ozzy, you're in real estate, how do interest rate looks? How are they looking like right now? I keep hearing things on the news. So it really depends, Carrie, on an individual case-by-case scenario, right? How's your credit? What kind of loan? Is it 1530? Is it on your primary residence? Is it on your investment property? So it all depends on 3% to 5%?
Well, rate in 24th going to straight. You named some very, those are the rates can right now we're working primary residence with um, 20% equity in the threes, mid threes, lower threes. If you're an investor locking you in the lower fours, that's general consensus. I'm saying that people right now, if they have finance, a lot of them have in the fours, fives. It makes sense to get refinanced in the threes. If you're saving at least 0.75% in rate, or you have a need of getting cash out that help you financially with paying off debt, or want to take this time to reduce my term from a 30-year to a 15-year so I can use that as a retirement, it's a great time to do something. Some clients, I'm going to tell them, nope, it's not worth it for you to do it. Lately, because of how low rates have been since last month,
Uh-huh.
I don't see myself saying a lot of times, no, don't do anything, because it's at least saving many people almost close to 1%
I
in
like
rate.
that. I like that. Yeah, I was gonna ask you that is when is it not a good time, or not a good time, but when is it
Now,
not to their advantage to refinance? Right now, being the fact that a lot of people might be a little stuck or they might need the money, you're seeing that drop a little more, and you're like, you know what? I think in your situation, you do need to refi and get some money out, huh?
yeah, the people that don't that say it's not worth it to refinance are those that maybe they got in at a really low rate before at 3.7, and I'd only reduce 0.25%. And their purpose of doing a refinance is to lower the, because there are still costs that go along in the refinance. You're going to pay fees. You're going to potentially pay an appraisal if you don't get an appraisal waiver. And we don't charge any lender fees, but many lenders do. So you have to they have to add up what the costs are, what they're going to save per month. This is an easy way to develop a method to see if it's worth it. How much are the hard costs? What's the reduction payment? If the reduction is $20 a month and the hard costs are $3,000, then they're going to take 3,000. They're going to take 3,000 divided by 20 and make up that cost in 60 months mathematically. And if they say, oh, I'm staying here for more than 5 years, this means, then great, let's go for it. But we're going to do the math, see if it's worth it for them to. If you've got, let's say, I have one where they had a 3.625%, they were going up to a 3.8, they were getting cash out, and it helped them, even though they had a slightly higher rate, to drop the PMI, get cash out, pay off a $100 a month payment, which then overall it them over $700 a month in what they pay out. So with
Mhm.
this client was ecstatic, even if though their rate was slightly higher, just for because of their signal. So I would, lenders should look at everything and say, is this worth the client? Give the hard facts, and then give your opinion, and then let the borrower decide.
Okay, because I have somebody that texted me a question, and they said, Ozzy, ask her this. What fee should we be prepared for when refinancing? So it's not a set like chunk of fees, or it is or it isn't. Like, does it depend per applicant?
Well, if sometime, so I would always tell the borrower, you're going to have title fees, and if it's usually between 200 and 300,000 or 350,000, it's going to be about $1,000 or $12 in fees. You're always going to have title fees. Now,
Okay.
as far as what a lender charges, is going to charge for an appraisal fee. That's usually between $500 and $600. Now, there is a situation where the borrower may get what's called an appraisal waiver.
Mm.
That's discovered once the application is in and it is run, and the lender runs an automated underwriting system. And Fannie or Freddie, they take an analysis, and they determine, okay, what are the comps pulling up online, and is it validated to get in a waiver, because there's a lot of evidence to show that it was fine, and an appraisal waiver can happen. So that's something for borrowers to ask. can we get an appraisal waiver? And then as far as lender fees, typical lender fees include a processing fee and an underwriting fee, which is an estimate of about $1,500. At RateWise, we don't charge those.
Oh,
That's just our business model.
okay.
But and then the bar decides the rate down. If you're working under, I would ask to see their rate sheet for the day and let me know. If I choose this rate, I don't have to pay anything. If I choose this rate, I can make the I can call to buy the rate and get a better rate. You have to pay cost that. So it depends day by day what those costs are if they decide to do a buy down. But prior to that, those typical transaction hard costs. The lender is also going to collect enough to replenish the impound account, which is your tax, your insurance,
All
your
of that.
prepaid interest. Those aren't hard costs, so those shouldn't be evaluated in the decision. Am I paying and how many months am I going to make that up? Because that's something they would pay anyway. Taxes, insurance are going to pay in their on their current mortgage, or whether they refinance. They're still part of what the lender collects up front now, or within the mortgage. The client can roll all of these things in and not have to come out of pocket or anything.
Okay, and my last question for you, because we're about there with time, Carrie, is what would, being the fact that we're in this weird time economically, with the everything that's going on with the news and the pandemic, and you being an expert in your field, what would you recommend to just the general public, people owning homes? What would be your words of advice, that you just want to leave people with?
As far as purchasing, or is this a good time to refinance, or um,
May,
where you want me to go?
Yeah, what you've been hearing, maybe people's concerns. Uh, what is something that you're like, you know what, do this, it never hurts. One thing that I would say is probably just talk to your lender. If you don't have a lender, go and talk to Carrie and say, hey, look, I just want to see what refinancing looks like. And if it's not, can I just cancel the application? Like, I would always recommend just at least talk and see what the numbers look like. And if the numbers don't make sense, then say not right now. That would be
Sure.
my advice, right? Would that be proper?
What I would suggest to somebody is the lowest they've ever been in 50 years. Ever been this low in 50? It is worth at least 5 to 10 minute conversation with the lender and say, okay, here are those things that to an interest rate. I would say I would gather those verbally. I would begin those verbally from the borrower and then be able to give them an estimate and say, this is what it looks like. What do you think? If it makes sense for them, I would advise that client to get their application in as quickly as possible, because um, the interest rate market is so vulnerable now. It's up one day, down the next, up one day,
Mhm.
down the next. And if you have your app, we're able to, the lender's able to you and cost to doing to figuring out it makes sense and doing an application. There's cost to doing that. So my advice is to have a conversation, get your application, and then we wait until we can actually absolutely grab into the lowest rate. And as far as somebody in the middle of or wanting to know if they should buy right now, there's less competition than there was 60 days ago before this, before the coronavirus took over and had us change our lives a little bit, right? Or
Yeah.
5, 10 offers on one house, and because of either people getting laid off or people are, some of them are saying, nope, we don't want to buy right now, let's just see what happens. But if you are wanting to buy a home, this is a great time too, because there just isn't as much competition and rates are amazing.
Okay. Okay. Well, you have an online form. So if anybody has any questions, is it okay if I post a link to your online form so people can
Yeah,
inquire? Is that okay?
yeah, I'll email it to you. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So thank you,
Yeah.
Carrie. I appreciate your time. Hopefully
Thank
you and your
you.
family stay safe, and
Yep.
we'll be in touch soon.
Yeah, stay healthy, practice social distancing for
6 feet away.
chatting.
Stay away
Six,
from me.
6 to 9 feet away. Yes. Yep.
That's right.
All
All right.
right.
Thank you,
Bye,
Carrie.
Ozzy.
Bye bye.
Okay.